Hi everybody, Lori here for Simon Says Stamp. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've got an adorable critter themed project featuring the Hello There Animals stamp set along with the coordinating dies. So here she is in all her cuteness. You get a bunny, a puppy, and a kitty cat with 3 bold sentiments. There are coordinating dies to cut out the images and the little accessories, sunglasses, and bow tie and party hat. I'm going to stamp all 3 critters at once. I couldn't pick, so I wanted to use all of them. Now they kind of have a little peekaboo vibe going on, like they're peeking out from the edge of your card. So I kind of created a little composition here that I could use all 3. We got the puppy on the top, kitty on the side, bunny on the bottom. And I'm going to stamp these with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink because it is Copic friendly. And I'm going to color in the critters using my Copics, which I don't use often enough. My first instinct is always, could I blend color on these critters? I always want to blend the color. It just seems easiest to me. But there's not, unless I did some masking, it would be more time consuming to try to blend the color. So I decided just to go with the Copic. Now, I'll tell you, when we get to the Copic, I call myself the redneck Copic colorer. And that is because I did some janky coloring on this. Now, I wanted to put some glasses on one of the critters at least. I almost did it on all. But I chose the bunny. We got these kind of like circular round glasses, and I just put those on the bunny. And I stamped everything twice. You know what I say? Stamp it twice to make it nice. And then you got to let it dry or even heat it with the heat gun so you don't get any bleeding. That is one thing I struggle with when I do Copic marker. A lot of times I get bleeding with the black ink because I don't wait long enough for it to dry or I don't heat it with the heat gun. Hopefully you can see my marker caps here. This is like E0000. It's like the lightest shade that you can possibly get because the bunny is pretty much white, but I wanted to give him just a smidge of color. Now these images are not small, they're kind of big and they have a big area to color. Sometimes I have patience to do it, sometimes I just don't. And today was one of those days where I'm like, I am not coloring every nook and cranny of this critter. So you can see here that I'm just giving it a wash in certain areas. And I decided to own that. Like, let's just go for loosey-goosey, kind of storybook, loose illustration coloring style. If you just own it and go with it, you don't have to be such a perfectionist. Here I'm adding a rosy cheek, but I figured that pink was just almost too light, so I went a little bit more intense with the pink. I love a rosy cheek, a pink ear on the bunny. Again, not filling in the whole thing, just giving it a loose wash, owning the loosey-goosey jankiness of it all. A little reflection on the glasses. I decided to fill in the glasses with black. Just make them a bold, nerdy glass for the bunny. He's owning it. And then now for the kitty. Again, a big area. And I don't have the patience today. So here we have, what is this? E50. I'll have all the colors I use linked in the description box if I don't mention the Copic color. Going in with a shade darker, trying not to hit a lot of black areas because I have a fear of my ink bleeding. Okay, I'm adding some stripes like it's a tabby. This is like the kitty cat that we have here named Frankie. My son's cat Frankie. He's a little yellow tabby, and I always like to do a tabby cat. A little pink on the ears, and again, a little rosy cheek. You see how I haven't colored the whole thing in? I'm going loose. We don't have time or patience. Here's for the puppy dog. I went with the warm, what is this, W0. I should have zoomed in. I can barely read the thing. Okay, again, a lot of area. Look at me. I'm just going zoom, 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 little here, little there. You don't have to be perfect all the time. Sometimes you want to get a nice, there's occasionally times I sit down and I get a nice smooth and I go through the dark, medium, light, and I blend it out seamlessly. And then there's other days like today where I just go like a crazy woman and just give it just a little bit here, a little bit there. And I like the 2 different looks, Okay, so working in darker, what is this, W3. I'm giving him some darker ear. And then I wanted to do a spot over the eye. I feel like when you have a puppy dog, it's so cute when you put a big brown spot over one of the eyes. So I pulled out E43 and I just colored over the left eye with a big spot, kind of going over it a few times to make it just a little bit darker, and then finish it off a rosy cheek. I mean, how can you not put a little rosy cheek on a puppy dog, right? Okay, and then now I'm going to use the coordinating dies for these critters. You could just leave it like this and add your sentiment, but I wanted to pop them up on a blended background. Now these dies, they are open on the bottom, so if I would have stamped my images a little bit higher, it would stay intact in the panel. It's not going to cut out the whole thing, just the top half of the critter. But since I stamped mine right on the edge, they're falling right off, which is what I wanted, because I'm going to pop them up on a blended background. So there you have your 3 little cutie die cut critters. Now we're moving on to the blended background. I decided for a little change of pace to pull out my distress inks. I don't use them enough, and I really, really love blending with distress oxides. They're buttery. And so here we have saltwater taffy, and then I pulled out a little dried marigold. I'm going for fresh, happy, springy. This always happens to me in January. I crave making bright, happy, springy cards in the dead of winter. Don't ask. We're buried in snow today. I walked Hank in the snow, and it's quite a scene. No one's walking their dog at this time of the year, but you got to walk him. I mean, he doesn't get enough physical activity. I mean, it's good for me too, but none of the sidewalks are cleaned off. So I'm traipsing through. He loves it, but he does get, like, after a while, he'll get little snowballs stuck in his little paws. So that's frustrating. Maybe I need to get him the little snow boots, but I don't know. Some people are so against doing that, but he does get little snowballs in his paws, and it kind of aggravates him. Okay, so what are we rounding it out here with salvage patina? The nice thing about this is when it blends in with that saltwater taffy and in with that scattered straw, it creates a little green shade. And then I put some of those 3D foam squares. The ones I have are by Simon Says Stamp, and I really love them. Did you know they come in 2 different thicknesses? So you can get thinner foam squares, and you can get thicker. And I use both. Like on these critters, I use the thin, and to pop up my panel, I use the thin. And then to pop up my sentiment, I'll use the thicker. So it's nice to have the 2 different thicknesses. Now we're working on the sentiment here. I'm embossing this "Oh, hello there" in white on a little piece of vellum. So first I'm prepping the vellum with that powder tool. Going to ink it up with Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink, and then I'll pour on the white embossing powder, heat it with the heat gun, and then I'll use the coordinating die to cut it out. So the nice thing about doing the sentiment on vellum is it doesn't like block too much of the critters behind and your nice blended background. So I'm heating that with a heat gun, and then I'll use the coordinating dies to cut it out. I love these big, bold sentiments. There's 3 to choose from. There's like, "Hey girl, hey." There's a happy birthday one. And then this one is just, "Oh, hello there." So you could use it for any occasion. Now here I'm carefully putting some of those thicker 3D foam squares behind. I put it behind the white embossing so you don't see it. And then I thought it would be fun to use these milky white little splash drops. I love these splash drops by Simon Says Stamp. You get the 3 different kinds, like milky white, clear, and iridescent. I scattered a few here and there, and this card is finished. It's adorable. It's got the springy, fresh colors for the dead of winter, and you can send it for any occasion. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.
I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.